let's do it. Welcome to Crosstown Cardboard episode 88. 88 for Michael Irvin, the Dallas Cowboys legendary wide receiver, because you're listening and watching two playmakers. That's Craig at New York City Sports Cards, the math teacher, the soccer coach in New York City. And I'm Carmine at Carmine's Cards, originally from Ossining, New York, but now down south in Greenville, South Carolina. But we're going to be talking about our time as youths, when we were kids, hobby hustling. 20 years ago is the title of episode 88, because Craig mentioned recently that we have a lot of stories in the archives, especially him, because he never left the hobby all the way from a kid. Now, clearly, you can see if you're watching on the YouTube as a dashing adult. So 25-year history in the hobby. I was in the hobby from maybe 7 years old to probably 14 or so, right before high school. Then I took, like a lot of us, a pretty long gap there, probably, 12 or so years, got back into it during the pandemic. But it was really because my mom had hip replacement surgery, and I went home in the summer of 2021 to help her out, and went through my old collection and reinvigorated my love for the hobby. So we're going to get into what hobby hustling was like 20 years ago for us as kids, and we're going to involve some special guests and see what their thoughts are on, supervising us and possibly funding us in the hobby 20 years ago. But first, we're going to start with some recent moves, because we always like to keep everybody up to date and share our hobby experiences, because they could help you as well. So, Craig, we both had some unexpected moves in the hobby. How's it going, and what would you like to start with?
I'm excited to get into the past a little bit. We'll see how much we uncover. Like, my earliest memories were of opening packs, I could picture myself in this place in time, was with my grandparents in 1998, 1999, opening packs of baseball cards. But we'll save that for later. We'll get into some nitty-gritty details, legitimately talk about how when I was in middle school, I was hustling, making a little bit extra money through cards. But we'll save that towards the middle of the episode. Recent news first. Obviously, the New York Knicks have just stolen the hearts of New Yorkers. I actually referenced the Knicks in my pregame speech with my soccer team yesterday, talking about how they're so injured, next man up, because my team, we had 8 players missing. And I said, like, a lot of you are going to have to play positions you're not used to. Next man up. Just be ready to fill in.
Yeah, wow. That's a lot of injuries. What happened?
Oh, it's not injuries. The youth. Speaking of the youth, they have so many other things going on. So,
okay.
They'll miss soccer for dance, for a bar mitzvah, vacation. Anyway, not the point. Why do I bring up the Knicks here? Last Sunday, I said about the Bleecker event. I told you I did really well selling a lot of Brunson autographs and just Knicks cards in general. So whatever I had left over, lower end Knicks stuff, like a Brunson Knicks game-worn jersey. There was a rookie card in his Mavericks uniform, and I'm sitting there with this low-end Knicks cards that don't really belong in my personal collection. What do I do with them? So, Alex is MVP. That's the card shop. That's a 10-minute walk for me. I go there once a week. In speaking to them recently, I know they're looking for Brunson cards, and I've also told you they don't turn over inventory quite a bit. You are in the heart of New York City. You are a shop that people walk in and out of every day. You need Knicks cards. You need Jalen Brunson cards. That's what people want.
Right.
So I had this plan in mind. They don't really trade too much, but I know they'll always look at stuff. Let me put together a lot of New York Knicks cards that I could trade to them, because it's not stuff I need. They need new inventory for the shop. They need Jalen Brunson stuff. Let's see what we could make happen here. So you could see I trade them kind of a random stack of Knicks stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Right. In there was a Bernard King autograph. In there was an Earl the Pearl Monroe exquisite jersey. Just not stuff I really needed anymore.
Yeah.
So I walked into shop. I looked up comps of everything myself, what they're selling for. And I said to myself, okay, if Alex is MVP, if they're willing to work with me, I comped every single card, and I thought to myself, okay, I have X amount of dollars here.
Yeah.
Maybe I could trade it to them, and I'll pick out something I like. So instead of looking around the shop first, I said, okay, let me comp out all my Knicks cards here. I know they're going to want this stuff, which I was correct, by the way. And it came out to roughly $300 worth of stuff. So I said, okay, let me see what cards they have on display here for around that price. Maybe we can make something work. Luckily, the shop, they know me well. When they pick up stuff that I like, they always let me know as soon as I walk in the shop.
Oh, that's good.
So before I even looked around, they're like, hey, we got some new basketball cards in. Here's some stuff you might like. And of course, they know me well. And the first card that I picked up that I knew I needed was 2002, 2003 Upper Deck Inscriptions. Sean Marion, Amari Stoudemire, dual on-card autograph. And it is Amari's rookie year.
Oh, nice. Okay. 0203.
Yeah. So on-card autographs of NBA stars, same teammates. What a simple concept that the companies just don't do anymore. So this was a no-brainer pickup. It was also one of those types of cards you post on your Instagram story. We've mentioned this before. You could tell a card gets a lot of love. It gets a lot of feedback and likes and hearts and stuff. This was one of them.
That's great because probably so many people who follow us and we follow them on Instagram relate to that set when they were kids also.
Yeah, precisely.
But that's a great, I mean, Steve Nash was my favorite player growing up as a small white point guard that I was. So I related to Steve Nash and I loved those Suns teams. And when he was dishing to Amari and Sean Marion on the fast break, those two guys, the Matrix and what is it, Stat? But nobody called him that, but that was his branding. But man, that was a great combo, and they were close, but they kept running into the Spurs. That was a tough matchup for them. But yeah, I mean, and what did that value at?
They had it stickered at 40, which is roughly what it sells for. But when I saw the $40 sticker, I didn't even need to look it up and comp. It's like, for that price, I'll take this all day.
Yeah, great cool to cost ratio on that one.
Exactly. Now, the next one, very unlike me. Not only is it baseball, but it's unlicensed baseball. But I'm a sucker for a 101. Now, this is an interesting one. This is a 2016, and they had this priced at 260. 260, 40, there's your 300 right there.
That's a math guy right there.
So this came from 2016 Panini Pantheon Baseball, which is a set I had never heard of.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about going into shops, uncovering new cards, learning about new sets. Here I am last night watching box breaks of 2016 Panini Pantheon Baseball, which is a high-end set. This is a 2016 Panini Pantheon Lou Brock, St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Famer autograph, sticker autograph. However, he is deceased, so he's not signing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, chunky, game-worn patch. True 1 of 1.
Wow, and that's a big-time patch.
It is, and I asked myself, being a supporter of Crosstown Cardboard myself, what made this so special? Like, why is this a 1 of 1? Mm-hmm. And I realized if you're a player that played in the 60s and the 70s, you probably don't have that many chunky patch swatches available. So the fact that you have a 3-color chunky patch from an all-time Cardinals legend,
yeah,
that's why this is a 1 of 1. And even though it's unlicensed, at the very least, it says St. Louis on the back. I just think the front is super clean.
Yeah, it's a good-looking design.
Just a nice, good-looking design. So I got the Lou Brock 101 patch auto. I got the Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion dual autograph. I traded a bunch of those Knicks cards. I added $50 cash. And when you consider what I was into the Knicks cards for, I'm into these two for $170.
Wow, nice.
So
that's great, bro.
That's a W. That's a W. I got rid of a bunch of Knicks cards that I didn't need, but a local shop in New York City is obviously going to want and benefit from. And I was able to consolidate into 2 cards that I really like that will go into my inventory, right? Probably not necessarily PC, but still the types of cards I certainly don't mind holding if I need to.
And how much easier will it be to move those 2 cards that you got than how many Knicks cards did you have? Like 10 Knicks cards?
Yeah, 10 to 12, all mostly like $50 and less. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy with that move. And I did not expect it because, like I said, they're not as fluid with trades and stuff. But came in there. I said, look, I got a bunch of Knicks stuff. I got Brunson. I know you need Brunson cards. I said, here's the values of each of these. Here's the 2 cards I like. Let's make it happen. Bing, boom, boom, out of there.
And speaking of the Pantheon set, I actually visited the Pantheon in person in Italy. So how about that tie into my recent crosstown or cross-world vacation?
See, this would be a good screenshot and say, what's the connection between these 2 pictures here?
Yeah, hold on. Let's get it here. Is that good?
Yeah, it's good.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, cool.
You had a little ventriloquist going right there. Your mouth wasn't moving at all to pose for the picture. No, but that's good. How did you figure out the value on the Lou Brock?
I tried to look up other Lou Brock autographs, and I tried to find other cards from this Pantheon set. It was pretty easy to sort through because there was only 1 year that they made it. And I also didn't necessarily look at the value of what they had it at. I considered what I would be into it at. And do I think I'll be able to move these 2 cards for more than 170? Simple answer, yes.
Okay. That's me. That makes sense.
It's always fun. It's always fun to consolidate.
Yeah, and that's good information for anybody trying to figure out how to make trades, especially with an LCS, because that's always an interesting situation when they have the upper hand usually, but it sounds like it was a pretty even deal for you guys.
Definitely.
So I made a little bit of an unexpected move, Craig, because I traded our boy Cards by Joe, great guy in the hobby, a friend of ours, and I traded away this exquisite dual game used jersey numbered out of 10 of Larry Bird and Dr. J, Julius Erving. So I traded that away. This is a card that you would expect me to have, right? Old school legends, Bird involved, exquisite game used jersey. That's right up my alley, low numbered. And it was a 1-for-1 trade, and I got a modern card.
Hey, now.
Oh boy, that's unexpected. Brock Purdy, Prism rookie, red, white, and blue in a PSA 10. This is between like a $200 to $300 value, and last sold on the Bird and Dr. J was, I think, $225 or $240 in a PSA 9. This one's raw. So it was about the same value, but I just think first of all, I was thinking to myself, I have quite a few cards that are in this realm of the Bird and Dr. J exquisite game used jersey, and I feel to have more flippability in my inventory. I might need to get younger and get quarterbacks and get more modern cards. So I figured, now is probably a good time to pick up these quarterbacks before national. And while not as many people are thinking about football in the offseason, it has potential to increase the iconic rookie card of a guy, red, white, and blue, and a PSA 10 of a quarterback who people probably start liking as far as the hype train. So that was a bit of an unexpected move, but, try to remain versatile with that.
I like it. You're diversifying your portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said last week, hey, people like the quarterbacks? We'll play your game.
Yeah.
We'll play your game.
Play your game. I also got another Brock Purdy autograph that I'll see if I can grab. Oh, here it is. At the recent show here in Greenville at the Haywood Mall, hosted by Brian Sports Cards and More. This is a Leaf auto,
nice.
But I traded for it at the show when I was set up as a dealer a few weeks ago before my trip to Italy. And it's a 1-of-1 Leaf auto. It's about a $150 card, but kind of cool. Brock Purdy again. So
I like to see you supporting the 49ers, right? You could take the kid out of the Northwest, but
right. Actually, yeah, I've been to San Francisco a few times. That was like a 6-hour drive from when I was in Medford, Oregon. But this is kind of like more up my alley. Another recent pickup, this Drew Brees SP Authentic rookie auto. Right. And so I got that online, but I got this at the show. You might like this. Joe Namath, Willie Mays, Leaf, dual game used patches, though. Multiple colors on this, numbered 1 out of 3. That's cool. Kind of cool. I'm trying to figure out the connection between Willie Mays and Joe Namath, but
Willie Mays played for the New York Giants.
Okay, I thought it was San Francisco, but you might be right. Can you look that up for us?
Yeah, of course. And obviously Joe Namath being on the New York Jets.
Right.
So, Willie Mays played for what am I talking about? He did play for the Giants, but Willie Mays did play for the Mets.
Oh, the Mets. Okay.
Yeah, he played for the New York / San Francisco Giants.
Okay.
He also played for the Mets, and he coached the Mets. So there's your New York connection. What a perfect card for Crosstown Cardboard.
Oh, great. Shoot, I didn't even realize that. Thank you for taking me to school like you do for the card club.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, that was, obviously the San Francisco Giants were the New York Giants in the past.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the past, let's get into our past.
Okay, well, hold on 1
Oh,
second. God,
okay,
great
okay, okay.
segue, great segue. I just don't wanna miss the opportunity to talk about this one move. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Oh, shoot, I feel bad about that. All right, real quick, I traded away this Damian Lillard. I don't know if you saw me pick this up. This colossal game-used patch, 3 colors, National Treasures, numbered at a 9, also on-card auto. PSA 8 with a 10 auto. I got this from my buddy back in the Northeast, or Northwest, I should say. Jack B. Nimble cards. Great guy in the hobby. One of my good buddies when I was back in Medford. And so I traded that away. I got $125 of cash from my buddy Adam Jersey. And I got this game used jersey, 3-color patch. Look at this, though. If you're watching on the YouTube, Chris Paul, very chunky from our childhood. And we'll get into the past in just a second. 3-color Ultimate Collection game used patch, Chris Paul on the New Orleans Hornets at the time, still.
Cool card.
But these are the two that you might not expect, Craig. Trevor Lawrence Obsidian RPA, numbered out of 50, with the, I think it's probably either player worn or not affiliated material, with the teal green and sticker auto, numbered out of 50. That's like a $250, $300 card. And then also
that card's so liquid I could see it dripping through your phone.
Right. That's what I was thinking. So, trade down and get liquid cards. Now, the Chris Paul maybe is still up our alley of what we would usually have in our inventory. The Trevor Lawrence has the more liquefied fluidity to it as a RPA numbered out of 50. And then same thing with this one was my thought. Jamar Chase, bronze, rated rookie, optic, on-card auto. This is like a $150 card. But kind of a decent color match with the Bengals uniform.
And it's the third card you showed me, and it's bronze. How about the irony there?
There you go. Give me a medal.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
I should have let you go with the segue, but I just didn't want to miss the opportunity for that move.
So, I don't know. I felt like when all the stuff happened with Rob and the sports card therapist and the Wolfpack, I feel like I heard a couple people kind of allude to the fact that, we were this group and like Rob got us into this. And maybe there's a misconception that I've been collecting cards since I was 7 years old and I've never stopped.
Yeah.
So,
well, he was the former of the group, but he definitely didn't start anybody's hobby interest.
Yeah, not even close. So
right.
I say that to kind of go back to the past and think, all right, how has the hobby changed when, I was collecting 20 years ago? What are some of the things that I was doing? And what are the similarities between yesteryear and today?
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest difference for me is when I was a kid growing up. And when I say kid, let's say I was born in 92. So let's say between the ages of 98 and 2009, because that's when right after that I went to college. So let's talk about that decade there. And the biggest thing that comes up to me is growing up in that time, I would say 95% of my card purchases was boxes and packs, with 5% being singles. And it is completely flipped today.
Right.
Maybe even less than 5% wax today. The occasional pack, the rare box here and there.
You might get like a soccer box like you did at Culture Collision.
Yeah, right. So very sporadically. And the approach as a kid was, okay, these boxes are affordable. You can get cool products for under $100. Mm-hmm. My dad and I would have fun ripping them. And the approach then was whatever cards I pulled, that was my collection.
Yeah, right.
That's what I would use to then go sell or trade or keep the stuff I really liked. So there was a period in time where I had like 3-row boxes just filled with game-worn cards, game-worn bats, game-worn jerseys, stuff I would get from single packs or boxes from Target, and I just collected this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, if you're familiar with blowout cards, they sell wax.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a very fond memory I had was they had this program where they were buying back game-worn cards.
Mm.
So you send them, I think you would get like $4 to $5 of credit for every card you sent them. So here I am. I've accumulated all these game-worn jerseys, game-worn bat cards. I sent them 2 blowout cards, and I had I think it must have been like a $500 gift card to blowout. And I just
Wow.
went ham, bro. I got like 6, 7 hobby boxes, and they sent it all over. And that was kind of the cycle. I was able to take these game worn jersey cards I accumulated. I would send them to Blowout, and in return, I would get a bunch of wax. And I would have fun opening them. And you didn't feel like you were breaking the bank.
Right.
You know?
That's cool. Huh. Yeah, I was all about game used jersey cards also. I mean, still, it's funny the trends that or the things that you're interested in as a kid. And it's interesting to see what stood the test of time, to reference another one of our episodes. Like game used jerseys was still something that I was crazy about, and also on card autos.
Yeah. And a big reason why I was opening wax is because I was just talking to Matthew, 1956 Tops guy, yesterday about this. I think why I liked wax so much is because you had Tops, you had Upper Deck, you had Fleer, you had Donruss. So there was a wide variety of products. Whereas nowadays, like, let's call it what it is, right? Fanatics is creating this monopoly. So whether for better or for worse, you're limited in the amount of products there are. Back then, there was such a variety. So like, oh, this is a cool new looking product. Oh, this one has a patch card every box. That's different. I've never seen one of those. Oh, cool. This one has a dual autograph in every box. That's a new concept. I've never seen that. So there was such a variety of wax that I felt like every time I was getting a box, it was a new experience.
Yeah, that's true. And it probably a lot more diversity in the designs. And I know they're, Fanatics and Panini are trying to create, and they do have different tiers and levels and brands, of course, and different looks. But when you have the competition of the different companies all trying to get your attention, get your dollars, there's a different feel of innovation by necessity that, was coming up when we were kids.
Innovation by necessity. I like that. That's a good way to phrase it. And for me, now you go to a show and you look through the different showcases. You look and you spend time and you try to find the card that's right for you. My dad and I, we go to a shop, we go to a show. We went to, if you're listening from Long Island here, you're familiar with the Tri-County Flea Market in Levittown. I would, stand at the baseball card section at the Tri-County Flea Market, and I would legitimately spend an hour looking at products. And it took me like an hour to make a decision which box to buy.
Wow.
And right up the road from the Tri-County Flea Market was Target. So we'd buy a box from the flea market. And, maybe if we had a little extra time, we'd hit up Target and we'd buy some loose packs or some blaster boxes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So what was my hobby? How was I really hustling, right? I was selling cards on eBay since 2000, 2001. Now, here's another one that I'm going to admit here, and I'm not proud of. And I also know I'm not the only person to do this.
Okay.
Were you familiar with pack searching?
Pack searching? No.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I didn't buy enough pack. I mean, I bought packs as a kid, but I wasn't smart enough to. Are you talking about like weighing packs and feeling inside and seeing?
Feeling. Not. I'm not standing at a store with a scale.
That kind of gives it away.
Yeah. But all right. So you remember?
I'm sure I did that. I'm sure I did that to try to see if there was a thicker game used jersey card.
I mean, and that's really it, right? So you remember Target? It used to not just be boxes; it used to be packs. So they would have a box out there with 24 packs per box.
Okay.
I could remember like 2006 Upper Deck Baseball. And every box of the 24 packs would have one game-worn jersey card in it.
Yeah.
Now, this is me as a 12, 13-year-old kid. And I look back on it. I'm not necessarily proud of this. This is why I'm openly admitting it. But I was too young to have the thought of, oh, what I'm doing is morally incorrect. Or it goes against
but I mean, it's not that bad.
I suppose. It was, if there's a box in front of you and there's 24 packs and the thicker pack had the jersey card, I kind of just thought it as like, okay, I just have a little competitive advantage is all.
Yeah, you're doing your homework.
I wasn't the only one doing this.
Oh, I'm sure not. I'm sure today the same thing happens.
Right. And again, I'm giving myself a pass for it because I'm a kid. I wouldn't like do that. I wouldn't walk into a hobby shop today and do that. But It was pretty cool going to Target, coming home with 5, 6 packs and knowing every pack would have a jersey card in it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I wasn't rolling in the dough. So that's how I was able to, start building my collection.
Yeah.
Just accumulating little jersey cards here and there.
There you go. Sending them in, getting new boxes from Blowout.
Yeah. Or setting up at shows myself. Obviously a lot of it has changed, but a lot has stayed the same. The shows that I went to as a kid, in the Plainview Holiday Inn, the Hofstra show. Those shows are still around today, and they look exactly the same that they used to. So I would set up at those shows. And for me, those shows were I would have cards at my table. I'd sell the cards, and I'd use the money to buy boxes, and it would just the cycle would continue, and it was a lot of fun.
So what do you think changed your perspective on I want to buy boxes and rip versus now what you're doing is mostly getting singles and hardly ever buying boxes?
2017 Donruss Optic retail basketball. I remember buying a box. I remember buying that box from Montesee Comics, which is on Fifth Avenue. Pre-pandemic, this must have been 2018, maybe 2019. I remember the retail box was like, might have been under $100. And I remember thinking, okay, Tatum's playing really well. He's a good rookie. Here's an Optic box for under $100. This seems like low risk, high reward.
Mm-hmm.
Everything after that moment, that 17 Optic retail box, I remember just thinking, wax prices have gotten really expensive, and I don't really love a lot of the products anymore. So right at that moment, maybe 2019, maybe just like pre-pandemic, is when I flipped that switch, and I'm like, all right, you know what? I don't really love the products anymore. Okay, there's a market for buying and selling singles. I'm just going to stick to singles now, to what I really like.
Huh. Okay. I never knew that. Yeah. That's interesting info to see, because I'm sure that's probably similar to the journey that some of our viewers and listeners have been on. So, Craig, should we bring in one of our special guests who may have some insight into what hobby hustling was like for you 20 years ago?
Yeah. Who should we start with? You or me?
Well, why don't we start with you? We're on the U train already.
True. So while we get a couple special guests on the phone, here we go. Hey.
Hi. Hey, Craig.
Mom and Dad, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. I'm recording right now with Carmine, and the theme of the episode was basically what collecting and what being a part of like the sports card hobby was like for us 20 years ago.
Okay.
So, Mom, you could take it away since it's Mother's Day. Like, I'm 31 now, so think like me between the ages of like 9 and 16. Like, what do you remember about me as a card collector? And just like the way I went about it, any info you could provide.
Okay. Well, I do remember the binders you used to keep in the books in your handwriting, and you were always very organized with what you kept. And I do remember, though, you first got the bug of how collecting was more than just a hobby. It could be kind of a business. When I saw you doing some wheel and dealing with the Pokemon cards. And you managed to do a little good negotiating and convince someone and some people that maybe their cards weren't as valuable as they were. You had the knowledge. And the other person was, a little less aware. And, it wasn't until I got a call from their parents that night that there was kind of an unbalanced deal that happened.
Not where I was expecting you to go with this. But how for context, how old was I?
You were pretty young, probably about 9.
Okay, 9 years old. But get into what about like? But Dad, you obviously were a part of a lot of it. Like, what do you remember as far as like where we would buy boxes and packs and cards and stuff?
So back then, most of what you would call the local stationery newspaper stores sold baseball cards, football cards before it became such a hot market. That's where we got most of them. Then there were a couple of sports memorabilia stores.
I remember.
Because we had relations with them, because we held sports breakfast, if you recall. So we buy cards there. And a big thing you were really good at, Craig, was the master pack feeler.
Yes.
So we were going to Target because we had relations with the guys that owned the sports memorabilia stores. Craig would go in there and feel every pack, 100% every time. He'd come away with a game used piece in that pack. That's what
at Target. I was not doing that at the shops. I was doing that at Target.
Yes.
Yeah, mostly at Target. Once in a while, Scott would let you feel around also. But
No, he was very against that. I want to make that clear. This is on record. He was very against that. I would mostly do it at Target. How often would you say we went to Target for sports cards?
you were a weekly visitor at Target, and you always came away with something. That's what I remember.
Okay, so it's all right if you scam Target and if you scam other kids when you're 9 years old. No, just kidding. But Craig was talking about how much time you guys spent with him at the Levittown flea market and at Target. Why was it so important for you guys to spend that much time and invest in his growth as a young hobby hustler?
You want to go? Go ahead.
He just, when your kids express an interest, you want to encourage them and you want to help them foster that as much as you can. I was a collector when I was young. I was an undying Mets fan during some of the worst of the years. And, I always had my players I collected. I collected them in old cigar boxes. My player was John Stearns. He was my guy. And I had every John Stearns from the day he hit it to the end. And I know how much my parents fostered that in me, that hobby and that interest and that love of it. So wanted to, do the same thing for him.
Same for me. It was, the whole love of sports. We shared a lot of great times together. Allowed us to spend time together.
I remember another one also very sweet with Craig, with Dad's dad. There was a card store in his neighborhood, and you used to go there and get cards and memorabilia. And you remember what he used to call them? What Papa Danny used to refer to them as when you used to go to the store?
I remember. Tickets.
Tickets. You're going to go get some tickets. So that was a way for you to bond with him also, and Dad and all of us.
And we would just buy packs, right? We weren't really buying,
Yes.
If you remember that, we weren't really buying like individual cards. We were buying packs and boxes.
Yeah, we just bought packs. And, one time in a local store near us, we got a Derek Jeter game used card. And that's when we kind of discovered, hey, wait a second, now they have these cards with game used memorabilia with them, which led to the whole pack feeling thing. We just bought packs of cards. And it was fun.
And I want to go on record. I was too young to realize maybe what I was doing with the pack searching was a little bit unethical. I just thought of it as a competitive advantage. Sorry for
I don't think it was I don't think it was bad at all, really. I mean, as a kid.
Yeah.
And especially the cards you came away with as a result.
Yeah.
I think it was just like a really fun thing that you discovered that I never thought of it as being anything nefarious or anything like that at all. Obviously, if you did, we wouldn't have encouraged it or allowed it.
Fair enough.
You just discover something.
And that helped me grow my collection. It's not like we were rolling in the dough, so I needed to build a nice collection somehow.
Yeah. I'm interested because, clearly neither me nor Craig are parents yet, but I'm interested, what is it like as a parent? Like, what skills do you think Craig learned as a kid in the hobby through these activities, hustling, even feeling the packs, but trying to gain an advantage and learn and improve in something?
I think, it taught him to be organized. It taught him really, even at a young age, basic business skills, basic survival skills. He also learned how to talk to people. He once bought a card from one of the sports memorabilia stores. I think you had the story in one of your podcasts where it was a Derek Jeter.
The Derek Jeter card with
right, and they put you on TV, and Craig was great. He not as good as you, Carmine, on TV.
No, he was great.
But he learned how to deal with people, learn how to talk to people quick. At a young age, to get up and talk and speak about anything to anybody. And I think in part that was because of his involvement with, collecting
I
memorabilia.
agree. Totally.
Yeah.
And I think that just the engagement and the enthusiasm, I think of enthusiasm as a superpower, and the enthusiasm and excitement that Craig had when he would, get a good pull or get a good card or discover that a player that he's had in his collection suddenly has become a superstar, and remembering that in the memory. And again, using that superpower, I think helped develop that.
Very nice. Hey, let's not forget I also gave back.
You gave back Craig's Cards for Kids.
Well,
Cards for kids.
can you explain Can you explain what Craig's Cards for Kids was?
Okay.
Craig Cards for Kids was Craig would take his extra cards that maybe they weren't the memorabilia in the game used, but he would put them together in boxes, and we would go to hospitals, and he would leave the boxes in the waiting rooms for the kids and the kids' pediatric wards with a note in them and saying, here's some cards that I enjoy and that you might enjoy. Feel free to take and share and read, and I hope this makes the time a little bit more pleasant for you.
Wow, I had no idea, Craig. Oh my gosh, that was like the card club for a different reason, and now you have the card club for the kids at school.
Well, I had to find a way to balance out the pack searching,
Yeah, he always no. I don't know. I don't know if your parents know, but he always washes anything that's slightly, could be, oh, Craig is somewhat of a nefarious, and then he has a great story of this is the best guy you've ever seen.
Dude.
No, it's not. He's a good, businessman, I guess is the best way to put it. And he's he's very aware of things, but I never really thought of it as being nefarious. I think if Craig ever thought it was illegal or wrong or immoral, he wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I know he's a great guy, or else I wouldn't have done 88 straight episodes with him.
Right. Before I let you go, do you think it's pretty safe to say at this point I'll probably be collecting forever?
I think so. I hope so.
I think you will. Yeah. I think you love it. It's part of being Craig, and you've done some really great things with it, not just to benefit you, which we're very proud of.
Very proud of. I think it's great, and I think the podcast is great. We love it.
Love it.
I do watch it every week, and I like it every week too.
Thank you.
That's great. That's great.
And hey, I'll always remember where it started. I feel like the start really came from in Queens, going to Metropolitan Avenue, and that store is still around today. Dad, I remember
it's still there.
I remember 5 years ago for my birthday.
Those tickets.
Yeah, Dad, for my birthday 5 years ago, we went to that same shop and we got boxes. I remember.
Yeah, that's still there. I was there the other day, actually.
Those tickets. Getting those tickets.
Well, thank you guys for taking the time. Love you.
Thank
Love you.
Thank you. Love
Thanks.
you.
Carmine.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So there you go. And it's funny. My dad alluded to that Derek Jeter card, the game used ball, which I have pictured here. This was just your local stationery store. You get a place you go to get greeting cards, you get some gum, lottery tickets. They just had packs, and that's where this came from. And
that's great.
Last point before you call your dad was I said we opened packs. That would become our collection. I remember my dad and I opening a box of 2008 Leaf Limited football. We pulled this Jim Brown autographed game worn jersey card, and I still have it to this day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's that. So that was my hobby hustle 20 years ago.
Oh man, that freaking brought a tear to my eye when they said how proud of you they were.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Wow. All right. I don't know if this conversation is going to live up to that, but here, I'll call my dad and see what his experience was of me, because he's also a hustler of my hobby hustling 20 years ago. Let's see if he answers.
Here we go.
He's out running errands, so.
Oh,
Yes, Dad. You're on live with Crosstown Cardboard.
wow. I'm very honored and impressed.
We just called Craig's mom and dad, and they were talking about his experience as a hobby hustler 20 years ago.
A hobby hustler, okay.
Now, you being a hustler yourself, starting the videotaping weddings back in the early days, in the early 80s, you're an entrepreneur, buying and selling houses, buying and selling cars. What do you think I learned as a kid about hustling myself when I was collecting cards, maybe between 8 and 15 years old, and you were taking me to stores? What were you hoping to impart on me as far as being a hustler?
Well, nothing. Well, that's a good question, Sig. I don't know. I think the fact that you were just watching me buy and sell things probably impressed you. And also the fact that, playing sports, football, basketball, baseball, golf as a young guy, and then listening to me and a lot of my friends talking about sports all the time, watching sports on TV, got you. But that wasn't your first. Didn't you? You were involved with didn't you love those Pokemon cards?
Yeah.
You used to buy thousands of Pokemon cards, hoping for that one very rare one that, was going to come up in the pack. So
yeah, probably
that
the
I think got
Charizard.
you started.
Yeah,
well, actually,
Pokemon.
Thomas the Tank Engine. Well, but they weren't cards; they were those little trains.
But I've had a lot of collecting. Like I collected the Thomas the Tank engines.
That's right, almost all of them.
Yeah, I still have that.
I remember buying them, but anyway, and I never got reimbursed. But the thing is that good for you. No, and then with that LeBron James card, I know you swear we got that at the county center in White Plains. I'm pretty sure I sent away from it. That was when I was buying and selling houses and making a real lot of money. And you kept saying, Dad, start buying these cards. And I bought it. I'm pretty sure it was online. And it was about $300.
Yep.
And then I guess it was 15, was about 3 years ago or 2 or 3 years ago, you sold it and got 22. Now, normally someone that sells something for someone else, even though they didn't put up the money to buy it, they might want $100 or $200 commission. But of course, in your case, you wanted 50%, which I really didn't appreciate. But anyway.
Well, this is that, Craig had his parents on and they were revealing secrets about him that he, may have wanted to, filter out a little bit for the PR of Crosstown Cardboard, but I guess the parents.
I don't sugar. Well, see, that I don't sugarcoat.
Yeah.
So does that characterize you as being a little greedy with your old dad?
I think it's a part of hustling, and I think that we had a handshake agreement.
Okay.
I think we had a handshake agreement at the time. That,
oh my God!
Of course,
well,
we don't have
record. Sell it. I'll give you that. You did sell it,
and it's if you're watching, I'll pull it up on the YouTube here. It's the LeBron James exquisite number pieces, the 23 game used jersey with the auto, but the auto is pretty faded, and so I think we got $2,500 for it, and we paid about, like you said, $250, $300. So let me ask you this, Dad: why did you? Because I remember our negotiation at the time, and I had to kind of convince you, like you said, that. This was a good investment, which,
right.
What was it? More than 10, 13 years later, we sold it. So, it's kind of a
yeah, but you weren't that experienced back then in card collecting, buying and selling cards. See, I think this was like, I don't know, maybe you were a year into it, if that.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think maybe 10, 11 around there, probably. As far as
you mean, you were 10, 11 years old, but not 10, 11 years.
No. So let me ask you, why did you trust me? Because I remember I had to do some convincing as a kid, and it wasn't a crazy amount of money for you. Like you said, the housing market was good at the time. But why did you trust me to invest a decent chunk of change into a card?
You want the honest answer?
What?
I didn't trust you very much at all. You were bugging me so much, I almost had to buy it.
Oh, my gosh. Come on.
No offense. No, I'm just saying, you kept on saying, you got to buy this, you got to, I didn't think it was going to maybe go down in value, but I didn't know anything about sports card collecting at the time. And you didn't really know that much either, but I kind of trusted you, but it was mainly you were asking me a lot about it. I had a lot of extra money and I said, all right, let's try it.
Okay.
But you got to understand something. The cards that you're buying now, 15 years later, let's say the triple and quadruple, I won't be around at that time to collect any of the profits.
Well, obviously, I didn't give you any profits anyway. So, actually, no, I did give you 50%. But let me ask you, because what was it like for you to watch me, like 20 years ago when we were going to the county center for the big card show, or we were going to the local card shops in White Plains and Mayapack? What was it like for you to see me do something that I really liked and, put the Pokemon cards in binders and the sports cards, get my collection up and be
as
enthusiastic.
A father, unless something is hurting you, you really want to, you want to try to encourage a young person that's interested in something. And I see that you had a real interest in it, and there was nothing wrong with it. I thought, it wasn't a lot of money that we were spending, or you were spending. You had some of your own money. It wasn't a lot of money that you were spending on some of these cards. I could see you had a genuine interest in it. It excited you. So. Listen, your entire life growing up, playing all the sports that you played and everything else, I mean, it kind of relived my youth. And it was kind of exciting. But, the cards never did really a lot for me, as they don't now, except that when I was talking about the guys like Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, John Havlicek. And I know I understand from you that they really aren't that collectible now, because how many people even remember it? But I'm back to the 1960s and 70s. But it was a thrill to watch you be that interested in all this stuff. There's nothing wrong with it. It wasn't like you were doing drugs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Craig, any questions for my dad here?
Mr. Jamea, I appreciate your honesty.
Thank you very much, Craig.
You
You guys have a great show, by the way. I mean, you generated a lot of interest, and I watch it when I can. But 40, 50 minutes for me, as my son will tell you, Craig, I have a very low attention span and very little patience, especially at my age. Craig, I'm 77. Do I sound like I'm 77, sir?
My guess, based on your enthusiasm, I would have guessed somewhere between 45 and 50.
Thank you very much, Craig. That's what's called fishing for a compliment.
Okay, but anyway, the topic at hand was Craig asking you a question.
I thought it was me, but go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead.
Did you ever get a thrill out of like opening boxes, opening packs, or just going to the shows with Carmine?
Actually, Craig, when I was a boy, see, a lot of people don't. I go back so far in the 50s. Let's say 1956, I was 9, 10 years old. We used to go open these packs a bit. You got to understand something. Basketball and football did not really become a part of our country until the late 50s, early 60s. Mm-hmm. Baseball was like the sport only. It was in 1958, I think, when the Baltimore Colts beat the Giants or something in some game that was televised. And then in the early 60s, when Bill Russell used to play Wilt Chamberlain, it was, defense versus offense. And those things started to become popular, those two sports. They weren't even really a thought that much in the late 50s. So I used to go to the local store, get a pack of baseball cards. It was a friggin' nickel. You bought a pack of cards. I think there were 10 cards in it and a slice of bubble gum that was just as long as the cards were. You opened up, and yes, you were hoping for Mickey Mantle. You were hoping for Duke Snider, Willie Mays. Yes, I used to do it a lot, and I had big stacks of cards too, Craig. So, yes, as a young boy, almost everybody did, by the way, back then. There weren't that many things to do, Craig. I mean, there weren't any health clubs. There was no internet, no cell phones, nothing. So, yes, I did partake in collecting cards back then.
That's great. And some things you pass it down to the next generation. So you did good.
Well, I guess so. He really loved. I mean, I think he likes card collecting and buying and selling cards as much, almost as he likes his job.
Yeah,
I can't blame him.
So,
yeah, that's good.
But Craig, here's the thing. Carmine once asked me, Dad, I want to maybe open up my own shop and own store. I said, Carmine, having been in business now in many different businesses over a 40-year period. I said, once you start getting into something where you're paying rent, you're paying employees, you're paying heat, you're paying electricity and insurance and everything else, it's a whole different ballgame than staying at home and buying and selling without that kind of overhead. That's the advice I gave him, Craig.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to wait till my pension kicks in to open up a shop.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And then you have extra money and you can do that on the side. Exactly. But to have it as your main line of work, I don't know how many card stores are actually, I'm sure there are some, and there are some chains that are actually surviving, but it's not easy.
Right.
Yeah, things are changing. Things are definitely changing.
Okay. Well, thanks, Dad. Thanks for the insight. And
all right.
Appreciate you coming on and also offering a little humor as usual. And I will give you a call soon.
Yeah, you noticed I said it was a little humor. Thank you. Well, take care, guys. Keep up the great work.
Okay.
Craig.
Thanks, Dad.
All right. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So two very similar points that your dad and my parents made. Two things that came to mind is we both got our start with Pokemon cards.
Mm-hmm.
And they both made it a point to say when your child shows interest in something, then just encourage it.
Yep.
And here we are all these years later.
Yeah. Those are the two exact same themes that I was going to pull from our conversations, and that they're still supporting us and proud of us to this day, which, like I was saying, is a little bit of an emotional thing, but
sure,
very nice to hear. I didn't think that we would get that level of insight. It's always interesting to talk to your parents about how they view you and how you were when you were younger, because you have a different viewpoint, obviously living it compared to, the people who were bringing you up. So
for sure,
that was a great idea by you to call the parents.
My mom made a point about me being organized with my Pokemon cards, which there's levels to it. Because I was so organized, I kept my Pokemon cards in shape, which included my Charizard, which I kept in a binder for 20 years. that I ultimately graded and came back a PSA 9, and I was able to use that Charizard PSA 9 to trade into my Michael Jordan rookie card.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that hobby hustling 20 years ago benefited you.
Paid dividends. It really did.
Oh, wow. I still have my original Pokemon set. You know, now they have like a million different,
Yeah,
probably
mine's gone.
similar
Mine's gone.
to really what happened to it?
Just throughout the course of the pandemic, I sold things off. I traded it. I'm like, this isn't my interest anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, simple as that.
Yeah. I think I have like 2 cards left to complete
Me
the
too.
whole first
I mean,
set.
I have like a Pikachu left.
Oh, wow.
Just
Okay.
to say that I have something, but yeah, not where I expected this episode to go, but that was cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I appreciate both sets of parents coming on, and cool to hear that they, you know, supported us. I hope we can do the same for our kids one day. And you know, whatever it is that they're interested in, that is so key to. You know, I saw a video on Instagram, and we'll wrap up here in a second. But Andrew Schultz, the comedian,
Yep.
who was one of the roasters of Tom Brady, which if you haven't seen that on Netflix, wow, that's one of the best things I've seen in a long time. The roast of Tom
I
Brady.
haven't seen it yet, but
You should definitely. It's pretty unfiltered and very funny, and I mean you have to have a certain sense of humor to like it, but I think you'll get a kick out of it. But anyway, Andrew Schultz was one of the comedians who was up there, and on his tour he just sold out Madison Square Garden, taking it back to the Knicks, and he had this really touching video on his Instagram with his dad walking onto Madison Square Garden. And he said, "Dad, you know, you believed in me when I told you 17 years ago when I set out on this career journey that I was going to sell out Madison Square Garden. And you said, I'll see you there." And then he brought him out onto the court and he said, "Well, I just did it." And that was the moment he told his dad for the first time that he had sold out Madison Square Garden. And he was saying, kind of similar to what our parents had said, that the dad's belief in him made him not the only one who believed that he could do it, you know, and that's so key. You know, I know it's a little bit emotional, but that's where this took me with talking to our parents. But that's so important. And I know we have a lot of parents listening to us, you know, on the YouTube and podcast, or future parents or friends or brothers or sisters, or, you know, just being there for somebody, I think is something that you can't say enough. With that, like your mom said, the superpower of enthusiasm for somebody else can go extremely far.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Hobby hustling 20 years ago.
All right, bro. Whew. It's good. It's good to show that emotion, though. You know, why hide it? We got this platform. You know, it's bigger than cards.
Yeah. I think this is a way more interesting and fun conversation than the same stuff you might hear elsewhere. What are the new releases? What's the drama happening in the hobby? Kurt's card care, grading. Like, it's the same thing over and over again, right? We try to keep it fresh over here.
That's right. Great idea, bro. Took us down a great path that hopefully will offer something to not just card collectors, but the human beings listening and
Human
watching.
capital.
That's right.
All right.
All right, bro.
Peace.